Just tell me that these are European releases, which would explain why I've never seen them before. That Arctic Dawn, man, I want that so bad. I see Scratch at every show I go to. I've never seen this before.
Grail, the object of an extended or difficult quest. That is a term that we hear thrown around all the time when we're talking about toys that we desire the most. And it's one of those words that I myself have tried really hard to be careful to use, because in my mind, there's only one Grail, right? So you should really only be using that word if it's something that is completely out of reach. However, most people use the word Grail to just describe a toy that is rare or hard to find, or maybe just something that they really want. And perhaps by the definition that I just read, that's correct. Perhaps those items are Grails. But I wanted to take that a step further, so I looked up the word Holy Grail, which definition is an object or goal that is sought after for its great significance. So once again, sure, Holy Grail could really be anything that you are seeking out because the item has great significance to you. So perhaps I have been too hard on the term Grail all these years. I tried using other words like white whale, like that's my white whale, or that's obscure, that's uncommon, and I think all of those terms could work, but I think we can probably all agree that Grail is probably the most common word for a toy that is hard to find or rare or just something that we really want to add to our collection. So why am I bringing all of this up? Well, I thought this would be a really cool topic for a toy hunt. I've got some footage that I want to share with you guys today from my recent trip to Retro Fest, Arkansas, where I saw some items that many would consider to be Grail pieces. And I saved that footage for one video here because this topic is something that I've wanted to bring up for quite some time. So let's go see some of the cool stuff that we saw at Retro Fest, Arkansas. Now, if you saw my other toy hunt videos from the show, you certainly saw lots of cool things. Like there were definitely some items that could be considered Grail items, or rare or hard to find. I ran into several of those. And there are a few of them that I haven't even shared with you guys yet. The first stop that I'm gonna make here for this video is at my friend Narc's booth. My good buddy Craig, who runs Not Another Retro channel here on YouTube, he had a booth at Retro Fest, Arkansas, and he had some very cool pieces.
Look at this case right here. Narc's got some serious heat. I'm gonna lift this up. I'm sure he won't care, because I wanna show you guys a really good look at that Arctic Dawn. Oh my gosh. That Mikey 2. Black Belt Storage Shell Donatello. Woo! Those are some expensive boys right there. And then look at these Biker Mice figures. I don't think I've ever even seen these later releases with like the neon armor. Those are gorgeous. Freaking love these. Oh, there's more down here. God, those are cool. Those are so cool. That Arctic Dawn, man, I want that so bad. I think he's so cool looking. Those colors are so amazing. What does he got on it? I need to check. $300. Woo, buddy. What a beautiful figure, though. What a beautiful figure. Same thing here. Dang, yo. I better shut this case up right here. We don't... Close that back up.
Those TMNT Adventures figures are so cool. And when you think about the original Ninja Turtles toy line, you probably know that there were a lot of different variants of the Turtles throughout the lifespan of that line. But the TMNT Adventures figures, like the Mikey we saw here, that Arctic Donatello, which is one that I've really wanted to add to my collection for a while, they are certainly more in that obscure camp, that uncommon section. And to some collectors out there, I would certainly say that these could be Grail pieces. And as you saw, the dollar amount is pretty high on these. However, the dollar amount on these Ninja Turtles figures aren't quite as high as a certain other Ninja Turtles figure, which is certainly coming up later in this video.
All right, this guy wasn't sitting over here. This guy was, I wanted to get him out and just show him. So Craig, what's up, buddy? So he was just telling me that these are European releases, which would explain why I've never seen them before. But I love the colors. The colors are amazing. That's what, dang, these are awesome.
Kind of like your Ninja Force fan.
They are, they're like Ninja Force biker mice. Oh no, don't give me a reason to buy these.
Hey, that.
You are too, yeah, please buy them, yeah. They're really cool though. Gosh, dang. Those are awesome.
Ah, see? These European biker mice from Mars figures. Now, these are cool. And certainly here in the US, you could probably consider these to be obscure. I had never seen these before. And those neon colors were really doing it for me. In fact, I didn't pick these up, and it's something that I actually regretted. Like, I looked back on it and I was like, man, why didn't I go for those neon biker mice figures? Those were so cool looking, they really appealed to me, and I passed on it. And of course, Craig did end up selling those. So somebody ended up with them, so congratulations. But it's certainly kind of like giving me something new to like keep an eye out for. I don't know how often I will find Euro biker mice toys here in the US, but I mean, I did here in Arkansas, so it's possible I might find them again. All right, moving on with the show. This is where I saw some of the coolest Grail pieces that I really want to discuss. This was the booth of Kapow Comics, which is a store located in Arkansas. Definitely a place I want to check out at some point in the future if I can get there. But he had some incredible stuff at his booth, including this glass case that was filled with Grail-worthy items.
Well, here we go. I found the rare boys. That's pretty cool. Alien movie viewer. And then I didn't even know there was a figure of Leprechaun. And of course, there's Scratch, 2000. Mad Balls. Oh, it's a Troll 2 troll. I was trying to figure out what was going on with this. He's a Troll 2 troll. That's amazing.
He was pretty proud of it when he got that.
Oh man, that is cool.
All right, there it is, my friends. That is what most people would say is the holy grail of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collecting. Scratch the Cat. And this is a topic that I have wanted to bring up for quite some time. I found it really interesting in this particular scenario, seeing Scratch the Cat in a case with some other toys that I personally consider to be far more rare than Scratch.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about these some more. I was just talking to the owner of the booth here, telling me where he got these and like just how rare something like this actually is, Troll 2. Because like this, he can't even track the origin of this thing perfectly. And then the Leprechaun figure was apparently a sweepstakes when the original movie came out on VHS. So like there was only 2,000 of these, I think, available. And it was a sweepstakes, so you had to win it. So that's how rare this is. This one's not rare. I know. I'm shattering everybody's illusions about Scratch, but I see Scratch at every show I go to. I've never seen this before. So that's the difference. That's what I'm trying to point out here as far as like actual rarity or scarcity goes.
Yeah, so like, look, let me explain a little bit what I was just talking about there, because I know I am already going to be ruffling some feathers, but trust me, this is like a really interesting topic, and I think it's worth the discussion. So first of all, that Leprechaun figure was incredibly cool, and it's something that I have never seen before. In fact, I had no idea that that existed. That is vintage, and it was offered when that movie, that first Leprechaun movie, first came to VHS. So this contest was really something, because essentially what you had to do is, like, you bought or rented the VHS tape, you saw this contest promo video, and then you would answer the question, and the question was, where does the leprechaun hail from? Which is hilarious. It seems like a very easy answer. And in order to enter that contest, you then call the 900 number, which, for those of you not old enough to know, 900 numbers would cost you money, and then you would give them the answer, and that would enter you for a chance to win. And there were only 200 of these figures. 200. Now, it's very possible that more than 200 were actually manufactured, so there could be more of them floating out there. But according to this promo video, 200 of those were given away as prizes, meaning this is a very obscure figure. This is a real Grail piece for somebody who is into Leprechaun. That right there is a key word, a key factor that I want you to pin. We're gonna come back to that. The other thing I thought was really interesting in this case was the Troll doll wearing a Troll 2 t-shirt. I had no idea that there was any sort of merchandise for the cult film of Troll 2, let alone just a regular looking Troll doll that's rocking a Troll 2 t-shirt, and I couldn't find any information on this. So as far as I'm concerned, that's probably the most rare thing in the case. But the thing that had the most money on it, the highest price tag, well, of course, that was Scratch the Cat. So here's what I think is very interesting about Scratch the Cat. In my opinion, he is not as rare as people think he is. Now, before you get mad, before you type away and scream at me, let's just think about this for a minute. I want to talk this through. So one of the reasons that people always cite for the price tag on Scratch the Cat is that he was a figure that came out towards the end of the line and is therefore a lot more uncommon. And that isn't exactly true. Scratch the Cat was released in 1993. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy line launched in 88 and went to 98, 99 if you're gonna count the KB Toy Store reissues. So that is like a solid 10 years, and 93 is actually closer to the middle of the TMNT toy line than the end of the TMNT toy line. And what's funny is, even when you do a Google search and you ask Google why Scratch the Cat is so expensive, the answer that pops up says, released in 1993, Scratch was one of a handful of original characters released very, very late in the Ninja Turtles line. So even Google thinks that he was released at the end part of the line, and he was actually released in the middle. Now, I will say that it goes on to stress that by 1994, the line had become mostly variations of the main characters. So Scratch was one of the last completely new action figures, and that is true. He is one of the last original mutant characters that was kind of swimming in a whole bunch of turtle variants at that point. So I will give you that one. That is certainly why that would boost him up a little bit. The other theory that I've always had with this is that a lot of the people who started the Ninja Turtles toy line as kids were already out of it by 93. This toy line went so long that it actually spanned a few generations of kids. So if you were there right at the start of 88, you might have dropped off by 93 and you didn't know Scratch the Cat existed until you were an adult collector, which is what happened to me. And I think that right there is part of what leads to the lore of Scratch. I don't think he's super rare because I see him all the time at all these conventions, but I do think he's desirable. And look, I'm not saying that he's not lower production quantities than the others. He probably is a lower production quantity. There might have been some distribution issues, so he may not have got out there as much. I'm just saying that for something that is supposed to be so rare, I see him an awful lot. There's a lot of factors at play here. I can't ignore the fact that collectors are obviously buying him, or dealers are buying him and bringing him to shows as a showpiece, and maybe that's why I'm seeing him so much. But still, like, it's this case right here I thought was such a good example. I saw that Troll 2 doll, I saw that Leprechaun, I had never seen those before, I didn't know they existed, and then there was Scratch the Cat. he had the highest price tag, and I see him all the time. But you remember that pin we placed earlier? The pin was where I talked about how that Leprechaun figure would be super desirable to somebody who cares about Leprechaun. Well, see, that is certainly a factor that we cannot dismiss when it comes to the value of some of these Grail items. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has a far wider reaching audience than something like Leprechaun. Leprechaun is far more niche. Therefore, it does make sense that something like Scratch, which has a legend around it, which has been built up as this magical, mythical, rare figure, of course he's going to have a higher price tag because a lot more people collect Ninja Turtles toys. I don't know. I thought this was a really interesting topic, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. It is not at all my intention to try to say that he's not worth the amount that he is being asked of him. It is not at all my intention to try to sit here and tell you guys that this is not a toy you should care about or that he's not some sort of Grail item, because that is furthest from the truth. I do think he's a Grail piece. He is certainly sought after, and I am a big believer that things are going to sell for what they're worth. If people are paying that money, then that's the value of the toy, and I can't argue with that. So speaking of all these Grails, did I pick up a Grail at RetroFest Arkansas? Not really, but there was one thing that I went back for at the end of the show because I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Okay, Chief.
I did it again.
You got me. My last purchase of this show. It's coming to you, my man. Look at that. It's all 3 issues of the DC Masters of the Universe. I've been needing to pick this up for a while. There you go, my brother. Chief's always taking my money. Hey, but you got such amazing stuff and amazing deals.
You call me his second wife.
That's right. Always hand him my money.
You want to see all the money that I got from him this weekend?
That's base. That practically is a good representation.
His YouTube revenue money.
Oh, okay. At the very least, that's got to be a representation of how much I've given you over the years. But you always have the best stuff, man.
He buys, I give.
That's right.
I got the best stuff.
Best deals right here, this guy. That's the
I
man.
wouldn't say best stuff.
You're the man. I mean, you're up there.
Some
You're
of
up
the greatest
there.
Stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and be a little bit.
Be a little humble. Be humble. Be humble. So because I couldn't stop thinking about this all weekend, on Sunday afternoon, I went back over to my buddy Chief's booth, and he still had the set of 3 Masters of the Universe comics from DC together, and he made me a deal, and I ended up walking away with them, and I am so excited to finally have this set in my collection. So here they are in all their glory. Oh my gosh, the artwork on these is incredible. So happy about this. Like, look at, I love Merman back here just flying the Wind Raider for whatever reason. Castle Grayskull, that iconic cover, I love that. Then we've got this great cover as well with He-Man and Skeletor, both on halves of the Power Sword. Look at He-Man holding that battle axe. Yeah, love it. The Key to Castle Grayskull is the title of this one. And then we've got Within These Walls, Armageddon, with that amazing, iconic pose of He-Man battling Skeletor. Swords clashing. This is such an amazing set that I never owned until right now. And this is the more obscure of the Motu comics to pick up. There's also the Star comics, which are technically Marvel comics, which are a bit easier to come by than these 3 DC comics right here, this original miniseries. But man, I am stoked to finally, after all these years, have these in my collection. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for this unique episode of Toy Hunting with Pixel Dan. I really hope you enjoyed this. This has always been an interesting topic to me, and I am definitely curious to hear your thoughts. I know people get very passionate about stuff like this, especially when value is brought up. So all I ask is that we please just discuss it. It's toys, let's have fun. There are a lot of valid points out there and opinions, and I think this is a great topic to discuss. So definitely let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you never miss out on an episode of Toy Hunting, which pops up every single Saturday here on this channel. So until the next one, happy hunting, my friends.